Okay. Thanks everybody for joining. I'm Adam Berezin from MSDW, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's session, sponsored by our good friends over at Coffee and Done. So before we get started, I actually just want to touch upon two quick things. The first is that if you have any questions for either of our presenters today, feel free to type them into the chat box, and Christina or Arena will get back to you via email after the session is over. We're also recording the session, and we should have it posted on MSDW within the next day or two. So without further delay, Christina, I am going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Hey, everyone. Welcome to 60 Tips in 60 Minutes, Dynamics 365 Customer Insights. I'm Christina Green, Senior Marketing Operations Specialist. I've been with Coffee and Done for 4 years, and before that, I've spent 8 years deep in marketing automation. I live at the intersection of marketing and operations, designing emails, optimizing journeys, and building the systems, segments, and reporting that keep campaigns running and revenue data clean. I'll pass it over to Irina before I give a brief introduction to Coffee and Done.
Thanks, Christina. Hello, everyone. I'm Irina Nagurniak, Marketing Automation Specialist at Coffee and Done. I've been in the marketing industry for about 4 years with a strong focus on automation over the past year and a half. I help clients build and optimize emails, shape customer journeys, and develop segments and triggers that keep campaigns running efficiently while ensuring data stays accurate and actionable.
Awesome. Thanks, Irina. Now let me tell you a little bit about Coffee and Done. Coffee and Done delivers AI-ready revenue engines that fuel growth using the Microsoft ecosystem. So with over 12 years as a partner with Microsoft, we go beyond the traditional CRM projects by combining strategy, process, and data and AI with technology to create connected revenue systems that drive growth, velocity, and retention. Our plan, build, run framework and deep expertise in Dynamics 365, Power Platform, Azure AI, and Copilot enables companies to improve customer engagement.
Before we dive in, let me give you a quick roadmap of where we're headed today because we're covering a lot of ground. We'll start with emails that perform, not just how they look, but how AI tools, brand controls, and personalization techniques actually move the needle on engagement. From there, we'll get into smarter segments and triggers, how you build the right audience, stay compliant, and nail your timing strategy so the right message hits at the right moment. Then we'll talk about forms that convert, lead and contact capture done right, keeping your data clean and your database protected from spam. Next up is journeys that scale, frequency, handoffs, and the automation best practices that keep your journeys running smoothly as your program grows. We'll also spend some time on consent, and we're calling this one Consent Done Right because we're going to walk through the full hierarchy and what audit readiness actually looks like in practice. Then we'll tackle deliverability in the AI era, authentication, list hygiene, and the inbox signals that matter more than ever right now. And we'll wrap up with analytics and AI, reporting integrations, predictive tools, and how Copilot is changing the way we look at campaign data.
All right, it's a packed session, so let's get right into the tips. Tip number 1, know where your audience lives. So different email clients like Gmail, Apple Mail, Outlook, and Yahoo, they each render and filter emails by their own rules. In CIJ, you can actually pull up your email analytics to see which clients your audience actually use, and then use the Litmus integration to test and optimize for those specific clients. Tip number 2, mind your image to text ratio. So a 60-40 text to image ratio helps you stay on the right side of that AI inbox filter. So it gets suspicious when an email is too image heavy. Just keep in mind that something even as simple as the logo at the top counts towards your image load. So you'll want to be intentional about what you're leading with. Tip number 3, maximize your brand profiles. Brand profiles aren't just for your senders. You can actually optimize them to store reusable custom fields like your copyright year, privacy policy URL, or a disclaimer text. So they populate automatically across every email. And when something changes, you just update it once and every template picks it up. Tip number 4, more touch points, more intelligence. So the more data tables you connect through hops, the richer your personalization options become. You're not just limited to what lives on the lead or the contact record. You can traverse up to 6 levels of related tables in email personalization, but just keep in mind only one of those hops can be one-to-many or many-to-many relationships. Tip number 5, edit emails in live journeys, but know the limits. You can make lightweight edits to an email in a live journey, like swapping out a link or fixing the copy without stopping the journey. Just don't try to make any big structural changes or swap in dynamic content or replace the HTML entirely. These kinds of edits need to happen before the journey goes live, or it would require a whole new email.
Tip number 6, leverage advanced analytics. CIJ gives you 2 levels of insight: high-level aggregated metrics like open and click rates, and deeper engagement data through the click map, which shows a visual heat map of exactly where people are interacting in your email. And like we mentioned previously, you can also filter all of that by device type, like desktop, mobile, or tablet. So you know not just how your email performed, but where your audience is reading it and whether your layout is actually working for them. Tip number 7, take advantage of themes and custom font upload. Themes let you set fonts, colors, and button styles. We like to do this at the template level, which helps keep every email consistent without manual effort. Just know that custom fonts don't always render across different email clients, so always define a fallback value or font to keep things readable. Tip number 8, subdomain separation. Send transactional and marketing emails from separate subdomains, so a dip in marketing engagement or spam complaints don't damage the reputation of your critical transactional sends. Tip number 9, one edit, every email, always current. We are talking about dynamic content blocks. Dynamic content blocks store a reference rather than a copy, so the content is fetched fresh at send time. Update it once, and every email that uses it reflects the change automatically. This is great for things like a monthly newsletter or weekly promos. Tip number 10, flip the switch, HTML insertion and personalization content. By default, CIJ encodes HTML and dynamic fields as plain text for safety. But if you're pulling in formatted data like an event description, you can enable prevent HTML coding in the advanced personalization settings so the HTML renders correctly. Only use this for trusted, internally controlled data fields. Tip number 11, test send with multiple conditional content variations. Instead of running a separate test send for each conditional content variation, you can now select up to 10 variations and send test emails for all of them in a single action, making it easy to validate every version before launch.
Okay, on to segments and triggers. Tip number 12, choose your fighter, trigger. So segments are great for targeting based on shared attributes, but triggers let you reach customers in real time at the moment an action happens or when data changes in dynamics. You can also create custom triggers that kick off actions outside of CIJ entirely, like launching a Power Automate flow for more advanced scenarios. Tip number 13, refresh road rules. So CIJ manages segment refresh automatically based on how active a segment is being used. Active journey segments refresh every 30 to 60 minutes, while the unused ones drop to a 24-hour cycle and eventually expire after 120 days of inactivity. If you need to use a segment that has expired, you'll just need to republish it. And for segments on that 24-hour cycle, you can trigger a manual refresh anytime you need your audience data updated on demand. Tip number 14, not seeing your related table, there's a sync for that. If your segment logic depends on data that lives on a related table, so not directly on the contact or lead, every table in that relationship chain needs to be synced to the segmentation tool before it will show up. Just be intentional about what you sync. You can't unsync a table once it's added, and too many sync tables can slow down your segments. Tip number 15, turn website behavior into targetable audiences. So you can now build segments based on known contacts and leads. You can now build segments based on how known contacts and leads interact with your website. So those page visits and link clicks, filter by the page name, type, or URL, and to get very specific. This lets you target based on that real behavior intent and not just the demographic or CRM data. Tip number 16, make your segment edits before using them in journeys. So once a segment is attached to a live journey, making changes gets significantly more complicated for now. So make your finalize your logic, validate membership, and confirm the segment is correct before you publish your journey.
Tip number 17, stopped segments can be edited and published again. Stopping a segment isn't permanent. You can go back in, modify the logic, and republish it without starting from scratch. It's a good option when a segment needs updating, but you're not ready to have it running continuously. What is good to know is that you can't edit a segment that is actively being used in another segment that is live or is in a live journey. Tip number 18, daisy chain your journeys with custom triggers. Custom triggers can be used to hand customers off from one journey into another. So when someone completes a journey, a custom trigger fires and pushes them into the next one. It's a clean way to build connected multi-stage experiences without cramming everything into a single journey. Tip number 19, pair CIJ with customer insights data for true cross-channel targeting. When you connect CIJ with customer insights data, you can build segments that combine transactional history, behavioral signals, and demographic attributes all in one place. That unified view lets you move beyond basic contact fields and create segmentation strategies that actually reflect where a customer is in their journey. Tip number 20, stack triggers thoughtfully, combine triggers with attribute filters. A trigger tells you what happened, but not whether it's relevant for every person it applies to. Layering in attribute filters like industry role or consent status narrows the audience down so your message reaches the right people in the right context rather than everyone who fired the trigger. And a bonus tip, use exclusion segments to your advantage. Exclusion segments let you surgically remove audiences who shouldn't receive a message. Existing customers from a prospect campaign, recent purchasers from a promotional send, or anyone who's already in another active journey. It's one of the simplest ways to improve relevance and protect your sender reputation.
Okay, now on to the next subject, forms. Tip number 21, should it be a lead, a contact, both, or neither? CIJ gives you the flexibility on what record type gets created on form submission. So a contact, a lead, or both. You can align a form behavior to your actual data model. If your org treats contacts as the person and the lead as the expression of interest, the forms designer supports that approach out of the box. Tip number 22, stop empty fields from overriding good data. The ignore empty values toggle controls whether a blank field on form submission clears out an existing value in the CRM. Turn it on and a contact's phone number, for example, stays intact even if they leave that field blank on a form submission. Turn it off and the empty input wipes it out completely. That is good data you don't want to lose. Tip number 23, consent optional forms know when and how. By default, newly created forms have the ignore opt-outs toggle enabled. This prevents a user from accidentally unsubscribing by leaving that checkbox unchecked on submission. If you actually want to manage consent for a form, like letting users explicitly opt out to specific topics, you'll need to turn that toggle off and make sure your checkbox logic is set up accordingly. Tip number 24, better bot protection built right in. CIJ now supports a modernized Google reCAPTCHA experience directly in the form editor as a drag and drop element, which improves security, accessibility, and overall just a simpler setup. It does require a one-time admin configuration, so you'll need to provide reCAPTCHA site key and secret key to get it connected. And the default configuration supports reCAPTCHA v2 only. If you want to implement reCAPTCHA v3, you'll need to do some custom work.
Tip number 25, use hidden fields to auto-set specific values. Hidden fields let you silently stamp form submissions with specific values the user never sees. A common use case is auto-populating UTM campaign parameters or setting a lead stage so submissions are automatically attributed to the right campaign. It's a simple way to capture additional context without adding friction to the form experience. Tip number 26, see changes in real time with D365 MKT-no cache for testing only. When you update a live form, it can take up to 10 minutes for those changes to reflect, whether you're viewing the form on your website or on a Dynamics-generated page. If you need to verify changes immediately during testing, appending #D365 MKT-no cache to the form URL bypasses the cache and shows the latest version right away. Just keep this one in your testing toolkit. It's not intended for the end user. Tip number 27, custom one-time question, no problem. If you need to capture a question that doesn't need to live permanently on the contact or lead record, say for a one-off campaign, you can add unmapped fields directly to the form designer with a simple drag and drop interface. You can even use those responses in journey branching logic. Just make sure to reference the field value localized name since it's where the submitted value lives. Tip number 28, take advantage of the enhanced relationship with contact/lead entities. When a form submission comes in and creates a contact or a lead, CIJ now surfaces that relationship directly within the form submission record, so you can quickly see which contact or lead was created or matched and navigate straight to that record without hunting for it.
Okay, journeys are up next. Tip number 29, avoid customer fatigue with quiet times and frequency capping. So frequency capping lets you set a limit on how many messages a customer can receive across channels, daily, weekly, or monthly, so you're not overwhelming them. And then quiet times layers on top of that by blocking sends during specific days or hours. And they can even respect each customer's individual time zone for truly accurate outreach. Tip number 30, we're halfway through. Right message, right time, wrong time, no message. Message expiration lets you define a cutoff point at which a message simply won't send. If a customer reaches that step in the journey after the expiration time, it's skipped and they move on to the next step. It's tracked in analytics as message expired, and it works across email, SMS, push notification, and custom channels. It's good to be aware that expiration always runs on the journey's time zone. Tip number 31, create journeys in minutes with the journey creation agent. So instead of manually configuring triggers, wait steps, and branches, the journey creation agent lets you describe your goal, audience, and timeline in plain language, and it assembles a complete journey structure using your existing segments and content. You review, refine, and publish. Just make sure your segments and content are already live before you start, since the agent builds the journey but doesn't create those for you. Tip number 32, save time with templates and heads up, custom columns don't copy. So journey templates are a huge time saver for complex or recurring journeys like a monthly newsletter, Just set up the template once, and most future runs are just a quick update to the start date and a few details. One thing to be aware of is that custom columns don't carry over when a template is used. And what we mean by that is if you customize the journey table with custom fields like a campaign lookup, those custom selections don't stick. Tip number 33, let journeys do the data entry, create records on the fly. So the journey create record action has been expanded beyond just those leads and opportunities. You can now create almost any type of Dataverse record directly from a journey step. One current limitation to note is that multi-select fields aren't supported just yet, so keep that in mind when mapping out your field configurations.
Tip number 34, two-way communication powered by Copilot. The voice conversation tile lets you trigger personalized phone calls from within a journey, handled by either a human agent or a Copilot Studio agent through Contact Center, and then route customers through different journey branches based on the outcome of that call. This requires the conversational tiles feature to be enabled in your environment. Tip number 35, set up ongoing journey reentry with segments. If you want a segment to behave more like a trigger, enabling reentry is the way to do it. If a customer exits a segment but later qualifies again, they'll re-enter the journey automatically. It's especially useful for reoccurring journeys that run on a set cadence, like every 30 or 60 days. Tip number 36, don't do it, email deduplication. Email deduplication might seem like a safe setting, but it can cause unexpected branching issues. If two duplicate records exist and one is in the journey, an interaction taken by that contact could get tracked back to the other record, causing the in-journey customer to never flow down the correct branch. The better long-term fix is keeping your database clean, so deduplication isn't needed in the first place. Tip number 37, use exit criteria, not just exit branches. Clean exits prevent stuck contacts. Exit criteria at the journey level lets customers leave mid-journey the moment they meet a condition, no matter where they are, without needing a branch after every single tile to check for. It's also worth knowing that journeys have a 25 branch limit, so using exit criteria strategically frees up that capacity for branching logic that actually needs it. Bonus, pause, now resume. If you publish a journey and catch a mistake or an unexpected event makes it inappropriate to keep sending, you can pause the journey and hold every customer exactly where they are. It'll stay paused for up to 21 days or until you manually resume, giving you a safe window to fix the issue without losing journey state.
All right, now for consent. Tip number 38, know your hierarchy, compliance profile to purposes to topics. So this is a visual that we like to use when explaining consent in CIJ. The compliance profile is the top level container. It holds your purposes and your preference center. Each purpose can have its own enforcement model, and topics live within purposes, which means purpose level consent controls everything beneath it. If someone opts out of a purpose, they stop receiving all topic communication under it, regardless of their topic level consent. Tip number 39, sharing is caring. Sharing consent across compliance profiles. If you have multiple compliance profiles, say for different office locations or languages that need different addresses displayed, you don't have to manage separate consent for each one. You can share a single purpose across profiles, so consent is collected and tracked in one place, even if the forms or preference centers look different. Tip number 40, looking to use form prefill, make sure your tracking is set up. So form prefill relies on tracking being properly configured. When a known contact clicks a link in your email, lands on your website, and gets recognized via tracking, the form can prefill with their existing data. Beyond setting up your tracking purpose in the compliance profile, you'll also need to make sure that tracking is enabled on your domain under settings and domains. So both of these pieces need to be in place for form prefill to work. And as always, be mindful of the varying consent requirements for tracking across different countries and regions before enabling this.
Tip number 41, dare to double opt-in. Double opt-in is configured at the compliance profile level and requires a contact to confirm their consent twice. They provide consent once, then receive a confirmation email they must act on before they're fully opted in. It's not just a best practice, it's a legal requirement in certain countries and regions, so it's worth knowing how to enable it. Tip number 42, should you use CIJ real-time only consent? If you're a net new CIJ customer who never used outbound marketing, this is simple. Just use real-time consent and don't worry about the legacy fields on the contact. If you transition from outbound, there's a feature switch that enables a legacy consent check, which means the system will validate both the classic do not email field and the real-time consent records to make sure you're honoring the right source of truth. Tip number 43, check to opt in or check to opt out. When adding consent to forms or preference centers, you can choose whether checking the box means opting in or opting out. And that decision should be driven by the experience you want for the end user. Think carefully about which default state makes sense for your audience and your legal requirements before you build the form. Tip number 44, document every consent decision. Future you and the auditor will thank you. The consent center shows all contact point consents with their type, status, source, and modification date, while the communication tab on the contact and lead record gives you a single view across every channel. For a full paper trail, the audit history under a consent records related tab logs every consent change, who made it and when. If you can't answer who agreed to what, when, and how for any contact in your database, your consent data isn't doing its job.
Okay, now on to security, which is very important. Tip number 45, when it comes to CID, there are only 4 roles. It's worth taking the time to understand what each of these 4 roles actually controls. So configuration, publishing, data access, and compliance. You can assign them intentionally rather than giving everyone broad access. Getting this right up front saves a lot of headache when it comes to governance and audit trails down the road. Tip number 46, make consent visible to all. Consent preferences shouldn't just live in the marketing team's view. Sales, service, and any other team interacting with the customer needs to be able to see communication preferences too. So make sure any non-marketing roles that need consent visibility have read access to the relevant consent tables at that appropriate level. Without these privileges in place, the communication tab will either not appear or show nothing, leaving sales and service teams in the dark on communication preferences. Tip number 47, column level security requires some extra love. If you're implementing column level security in Dataverse, be aware that it adds a layer of complexity that can control how CIJ reads and writes data. It requires careful configuration to make sure the right system users and teams have the access they need without breaking the expected behavior. Tip number 48, lock down the designer, control who can touch the HTML. Under Settings, Email Marketing, Designer Feature Protection, you can restrict access to the HTML tab in the email, form, and content block designers on a per user or per team basis. This is great for orgs where you want most users working within guardrails. They can edit content inside the design elements, but can't touch the underlying code or anything marked as locked. You can also use the same area to limit access to the Litmus inbox previews, which is worth knowing since there is a cap of 100 free Litmus previews per month before your additional license kick in or anything like that.
Now let's move on to deliverability. Tip number 49, authenticate everything. SPF, DKIM, and DMARC aren't optional in the AI inbox era. AI-powered inbox filters are significantly more aggressive about flagging unauthenticated mail. If SPF, DKIM, and DMARC aren't properly configured for your sending domain, you're starting every send at a disadvantage before a single recipient even sees it. These aren't just best practices anymore, they're table stakes. Tip number 50, warm new sending domains. Ramp volume gradually before your first big send. A brand new sending domain has no reputation, and jumping straight to high volume send signals suspicious behavior to inbox providers. Gradually increasing send volume over several weeks gives you time to build a positive sender reputation before you need it most. Tip number 51, scrub your list quarterly. Bounces over 2% can knock you out of the primary tab. Invalid, inactive, and risky addresses don't just fail to engage, they actively hurt your deliverability by driving up your bounce rate. Keeping that rate below 2% through regular list hygiene is one of the most direct levers you can have over inbox placement. Tip number 52, watch the engagement signal. Inbox providers pay close attention to what recipients do or don't do with your emails. If your messages are consistently ignored, deleted unread, or left unopened, providers interpret that as a quality signal and start routing your mail away from the primary inbox. Tip number 53, audit your sender, use the C&D AI era deliverability scorecard. Take stock of where you actually stand across all the dimensions that matter for deliverability today: authentication, list health, engagement, and infrastructure. The Coffee and Done AI era deliverability scorecard gives you a structured way to identify gaps and prioritize what to fix first.
Okay, now let's touch on analytics and AI. Tip number 54, connect CIJ to Power BI for cross-channel attribution. Out of the box, CIJ gives you solid channel level analytics, but connecting it to Power BI lets you bring marketing, CRM, sales, and operation data together in one place. That's where you start to see the full picture, how campaigns influence pipeline, where leads drop off, and which touch points are actually driving that revenue. Tip number 55, let the sales qualification agent do the vetting. So in the Sales Hub, the sales qualification agent uses AI to evaluate and prioritize incoming leads, so the sales teams aren't spending time manually sorting through every submission. It's a meaningful reduction in qualification efforts and helps ensure that leads that actually get attention are the ones most worth pursuing. Tip number 56, say yes to some Copilot. So Copilot is generally useful in the email designer, whether you need a content idea or a quick rewrite. It's a solid starting point that saves time. That said, temper expectations on the segmentation side, especially if your org uses custom tables. That's an area where Copilot still has some catching up to do, so plan to validate carefully before relying on it.
Tip number 57, big insights, minimal setup, connect CIJ to Microsoft Fabric. Connecting CIJ to Microsoft Fabric gives you direct access to your interaction and journey data for deeper analysis without needing to build a complex data pipeline from scratch. It's one of the lowest effort ways to unlock cross-system reporting and get your marketing data working alongside the rest of your organization's data real estate. Tip number 58, turn your CIJ data into charts without building a single report. Note that this is in preview. On any grid view in CIJ, you can hit the Visualize button and Copilot will automatically generate a chart based on the visible columns and filters. No report builder required. You can also use natural language prompts to get exactly what you need, like trend of emails sent this month as a line chart, and choose from 11 chart types, including bar, column, pie, line, and bubble. Once you've got a visualization you like, save it as a personal chart or it'll be waiting for you next time. Tip number 59, centralize your AI governance with Dynamics 365 AI Hub. As AI usage scales across your marketing, sales, and service teams, having a centralized place to manage it becomes critical. AI Hub gives you gives administrators a single location to enable or disable agents, configure guardrails, and ensure your AI usage stays consistent and compliant without having to chase settings across multiple tools. And we've made it to the last tip. Tip number 60, don't just track opens, track outcomes. Open rates are increasingly unreliable thanks to privacy protections like Apple's Mail Privacy Protection, which artificially inflates open data. Shift your focus to metrics that actually reflect business impact: conversions, registrations, pipeline influence, and revenue, because those are the numbers that tell you whether your marketing is working.
Awesome. We did it. 60 tips in 60 minutes. Okay, so before we provide you with some resources, we just wanted to leave you with a quick look ahead, because even after 60 tips, Microsoft keeps evolving. So 2 features worth keeping an eye on. First, like I may have teased in an earlier tip, this one feature is long awaited. So the ability to update live segments without interrupting ongoing journeys. This one goes straight to GA in September with no public preview, so it'll just show up. And it's a big one for anyone who's ever had to stop a journey just to fix the segment logic. And second, branded content links. Currently the furthest out on the roadmap, with public preview in September and GA in December. The idea here is that your tracking URLs use your own domain instead of a generic Microsoft link. So this goes a long way toward building that recipient trust and improving click confidence, especially as those AI inbox filters get more sophisticated and scrutinize unfamiliar URLs. So even beyond today's 60 tips, there's more coming. Keep an eye out on the release planner, and we'll make sure to cover these tips as they drop. And then before we wrap up, we wanted to make sure we leave you here with some more than just tips. We have 3 resources up here for you to scan. First, the Coffee and Done blog, where we regularly publish content on Dynamics 365, marketing automation, and revenue operations. In the middle there, our Knowledge Hub. This is a great starting point if you want to go deeper on any of the topics that we covered today. And finally, that Dynamics 365 2026 release Wave 1 plan directly from Microsoft, so you can keep an eye on everything that's coming down the pipeline. And that's a wrap. We generally hope you're walking away with at least a few things you can take back and put to work in your own environments, whether that's just a quick win that you can implement this week, or even a bigger strategy to start planning for. And a huge thank you to MS Dynamics World for having us, and of course to all of you for spending your time with us today. We know there's no shortage of sessions to choose from, so we really do appreciate you being here. If you have any questions that we didn't get to, or if something we covered today sparks a conversation you want to continue, don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. You can find us at coffee-done.com, and we're always happy to talk dynamics. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.